My dear student, colleagues, and all the viewers who are watching this program live from Facebook page, Physics Adda, I'd like to welcome you all to our International Physics webinar. Today it's our 49th Physics webinar. So good noon to all, and good morning for all those who are connected from Romania. Hope you are well and safe from Corona pandemic. And all we know that we are suffering from a Corona pandemic for last 6 or 7 months, and we cannot continue our normal academic program inside the campus. So we have to start our online program to continue our academic program. So our Department of Physics has already started its some online program, including online classes and online physics webinar. So you have already come to know that we have arranged a series of webinars, and in those webinars, physicists from different countries all over the world mainly coming as a main speaker, and they are delivering their speech and they are sharing their knowledge with our student. And I think by this way our students are benefited. And we have successfully completed our 48th physics webinar, and today is our 49th. So today I'd like to welcome you through a joint session between Department of Physics, Pabna University of Science and Technology, and University of Bucharest, Romania, European Union, in philosophy of physics. And we have here us with us today Dr. Gabriel Vacariu, Professor Department of Philosophy of Physics, University of Bucharest, Romania, and he has already connected with us from Romania. So good morning.
Hello.
And thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you for your invitation. Thank you.
So we'd like to say thanks on the behalf of the Department of Physics, Pabna University of Science and Technology. So for those who are new, I'd like to inform you that we have divided our webinar into 3 parts. First of all, we'd like to introduce our speaker with all of you, and then we have a time. In that time, our speaker will deliver his speech, and at the end, there is a discussion time. In that time, anybody can join. I think you have already come to know that today's title of our today's International Physics webinar, and title is "The Physics Overwritten in a New Paradigm of Thinking: The Epistemologically Different Worlds versus the Universe and the World." And our today's speaker is Dr. Gabriel Vacariu, Professor, Department of Philosophy of Physics, University of Bucharest and Romania, European Union. And if we see his educational background, so he has completed his PhD degree from University of New South Wales, Australia, and he has a lot of degree. So his teaching experience, he has some teaching experience also, and his research interest in philosophy of cognitive neuroscience and philosophy of physics, philosophy of mind Kant, and special topics of interest: the relationship between the mind of brain in cognitive science, the mind-body problem, localization, the binding problem, the spatial perception, localization in cognitive neuroscience, representation in cognitive science, philosophy of mind, emergence, supervenience, and reductionism problems, computationalism and connectionism, and dynamical system approaches in cognitive science, and the cognitive neuroscience of philosophy, the relationship between general theory of relativity, quantum mechanics, relationship between micro and macro entities, so on. So if we see his ResearchGate ID, you can see his ResearchGate point is about 8, and his Gold Score ID, we can see his citation number is 225. So thanks all for your patience. Now we can go our speaker. So, dear professor, you are welcome again by our department. So, thank you for your.
Thank you very much for your invitation.
Yeah. So you can start your session now. It's your time. So at the end we have a discussion session. So in that time anybody can join. So please start.
Thank you very much. I would like to present quite shortly my approach. It is the epistemologically different worlds versus against the framework that dominated human thinking until now, has dominated human thinking until now, the universe, the world. I showed discovering the existence of epistemologically different worlds. I showed that the universe, the world, doesn't exist, and what really exists are epistemologically different worlds. And in the following minutes, I will explain what epistemologically different worlds means. I want to start with some quotation from Max Born and Einstein. Max Born said, "I am now convinced that theoretical physics is actual philosophy." And Einstein said, "When the foundation of a science becomes problematic, the man of science becomes a philosopher." So I wanted to emphasize with this motto that the great problems of physics are in fact philosophical problems. In my work, article from 2002, 2005, and my books, I have 10 books written, some alone or some with my twin brother. I indicated that we have to replace universe, world, as I call it, the unicorn world, with epistemological different worlds. And I applied this in cognitive neuroscience, and I applied in physics. In physics, I will present this in my application in physics, in quantum mechanics, Einstein theory of relativity, and string theory. Many people wrote quite similar ideas to my ideas long time after I discovered the existence of epistemological worlds. You can find at this address, you can find the manuscript about these unbelievable similarities. And I start with all my ideas appeared in a Springer book in 2016, but in that moment I had 5 books already published and posted free at my website. And you can find the main ideas of my approach in my PhD thesis on University of New South Wales, Sydney, Australia. On their website you can find my PhD, and it's free. Nobody discovered epistemological worlds during 2,500 years. And this was amazing that I discovered this working on the mind-body problem and not on quantum mechanics, for instance. The last quotation from Nikola Tesla, and then I start with my approach. I don't care that they stole my idea. I care they don't have any of their own. The present is there. The future for which I really worked is mine. Epistemological different worlds. I will talk about my approach regarding the non-living entities, because I applied my approach to living entities and non-living entities. Because this is a conference for Department of Physics, I will talk about application of my theory to non-living entities. So one of the main idea of my approach is that the existence of objects is given by the interaction with other objects. So an object exists just because there are interaction with other objects. For instance, a planet exists just because there are interaction with other planets. If would be only a planet in this universe, which does not exist, but if there were only one planet, that planet would not exist because it would interact with nothing. So an object to exist needs to have interaction with other objects from the same epistemological world. Let's talk very shortly about actual physical theories. There is some events that happen in a following order. Big Bang, appeared the universe, the quantum plasma. Then this quantum plasma became less hot and appeared electromagnetic field. After the electromagnetic field appear microparticles made of quarks and gluon, photons, electrons, and then appears macroparticle and planets. And after this, life and mind appeared. I introduce now the principle for non-living entities, because there are some principle for non-living entities and principle for living entities. For non-living entities are this one: epistemological different worlds interaction constitute epistemological different objects, and epistemological different objects determine epistemological different interaction. Number 2, any object exists only at surface due to the interaction that constitute it. Any object exists in a single epistemological world and interact only with objects from the same epistemological world. Any epistemological world, a set of objects and their interaction, appear from and disappear into nothing. Nothing has no ontology. Number 5, any epistemological is, therefore, all epistemological different worlds share the same objective reality, even if one epistemological does not exist for any epistemological different world. The existence of a physical object until now, until I appear with my theory, and later, because I discovered later that space-time doesn't exist. I'm not the first one. Leibniz was the first one, and other people from the last decades came with argument that space and time doesn't exist. But I came with the new arguments showing that space-time cannot exist. Space and time, or space-time as you wish, cannot have any ontology. So I came with new argument showing that space-time cannot exist. Berkeley, philosopher.
Could you start full screen?
Sorry, to start.
Full screen. Maybe you haven't.
Okay, full screen. Wait a moment. Okay. Wait a moment to see.
Start the PowerPoint mode, then it will be okay. In the below, you can see the option. Yeah.
Here.
No, not here. In your file.
On my file.
Yeah, file should be in PowerPoint mode or presentation mode or full screen mode. So that
Okay. I press it, but wait a moment. Why it doesn't work? Wait a moment to see. Where is full screen?
Is it the PowerPoint file?
Yes, the file is open.
Okay, then I think there is a slideshow option. You can see maybe.
Slideshow.
So,
Slideshow.
Okay, yeah, just on the slideshow, then it will be okay.
Yes, I press slideshow, and here, where I have to. I believe that I have to go to the view.
In the below, maybe there is a option in the color, purple color. In the below, maybe done right side, yeah.
Slide.
Okay. Slideshow. No option.
No.
Okay. I think it will be okay.
I don't know where to go to find.
If it is PowerPoint, then I think you can find a slideshow option in your
slideshow.
Yeah.
I am on the slideshow, and here
you need to start.
Setup show. Maybe setup show. I have to go.
Start. No. Start maybe here. So second option maybe.
Take an option.
From the left. What is the second option? I think you can carry on. It's okay. You can see.
Wait, because I tried here from the current slide. Layout maybe. No. Here no. Here no. To final show. It is view. I go to the view, and here I have to.
Maybe there is option start or anything. Start.
Or maybe tools.
Tools.
But tools, no, it's not here. It's oh no.
I think you can carry on. You can see. No problem. You can carry on. Yes.
Okay, I don't know where to go to. Yes. Fit slide to current window. Yeah, maybe this is. But click here to find comments. No, I don't find where to go to.
Okay, I think you can carry on. Thank you.
Okay. So I continue presentation in this because I don't know how to. Maybe here I have to. Yes, this is maybe it's better now. Hello. You
can start. Okay, we can see.
Okay. Now, yes, it's a larger presentation. So what I want to show is that the planets exist. The planets exist in the macro epistemological world. The microparticles exist in the micro epistemological world, and the electromagnetic waves exist in the field or wave epistemological world. And all this epistemological world out here, everywhere here in front of me, I have a table, but this table belongs to macro epistemological world. In the same place, I have an amalgam of microparticles which belong to micro epistemological world, and in the same place I have an electromagnetic field which belongs to electromagnetic belongs to field epistemological world. All these epistemological world are in the same places, but one epistemological world doesn't exist for the other. So this is the reason that we can post epistemological different entities in the same place at the same time. This is the reason that I have here the table. I have here in the same place at the same time I have the amalgam of microparticle, and at the same time in the same place I have the electromagnetic field. But these entities belong to epistemological different worlds, and this is the reason that we can talk about three types of epistemological different entities. Mind is an epistemological world. It's equally this life, it's equally itself, and the mind correspond to the brain body. Brain body is a macro object which interacts with the object from the macro environment. There is no relationship between epistemological different worlds. So there is no relationship between table and microparticle. Because the table doesn't exist for the microparticle, the microparticles do not exist for the table, because they belong to epistemological different worlds. So we can talk about all these epistemological different entities which belong to epistemological different worlds, because one epistemological world does not exist for any epistemological different world. In this context, there are many notions used until me, which are pseudo notions, empty notions like composition, emergence, supervenience, identity, and many other notions. Levels of analysis, levels of explanation, levels of organization, ontological levels, all are contradictory notions. That is are quite wrong notions. Causality between microparticle and microparticle and macroparticle, between mind and brain, mental causality, all are totally wrong. I replace all these notions. Emergence, doesn't matter what kind of emergence, all are wrong. I replace it with correspondence. The table corresponds to an amalgam of microparticle. So this is the only notion that we can use. In the past, it was used by other person, correlation, but they use correlation to talk about entities which belong to the unicorn world, to the universe. So correlation, I replace correlation with correspondence, because correlation, it was used, this concept, within the unicorn world, the universe, and it was a wrong notion. So this is the reason that I replace correlation with correspondence. So there is a correspondence between the table and the amalgam of microparticle, and the table belongs to macro epistemological world, the amalgam of microparticle belong to the micro epistemological world. The microparticle does not exist for the table. The table does not exist for the microparticle. So when I ask somebody from physics, look, I send an electron toward a table. This expression is wrong, because I don't send an electron toward a table. I send the electron toward an amalgam of microparticle, which for me is a table. For an electron, the table does not exist. The planet doesn't exist. What exists is an amalgam of microparticle. This is from the point of view of the electron. I have another 5 principles for self or the mind. I don't talk about them because here is physics, and but the main idea is that the mind is the same thing with the self and the life, and is an epistemological world which does not exist for the brain, and the brain does not exist for the mind. There are only correspondences. This is a topic that belongs to philosophy of mind, cognitive science. So I return to physics. So human being, since ancient period until now, human being was the kind of dictator observer, and because he was the only observer in this world which does not exist, it was this tyranny of the universe, and the human being invented the universe, the world, as I called it, unicorn world. Before the Big Bang, many physicists said it's a meaningless question. I introduced a new idea. There was a pre-Big Bang epistemological world. And before this pre-Big Bang epistemological world, it was another pre-Big Bang epistemological world, and so on. But it was not a infinite series of epistemological different worlds. No, because I reject the notion of infinite, I reject the notion of God, and I reject the notion of nothing. Nothing has no ontology. God cannot exist in all epistemological different worlds. It's a ontological contradiction. And infinite, Aristotle told us that the infinite cannot exist. Otherwise, this discussion would not take place now in this moment. It would be in the past. So we cannot accept infinite. Moreover, another idea that I introduced is that I said that when was the Big Bang? It was not only one Big Bang. It was many Big Bangs, and in many places. And I avoided Alan Guth inflations by this way. Between one epistemological world and other epistemological, one epistemological world does not exist for any epistemological different world. So there is no causality between entities that belong to epistemological different worlds. There are only correspondence. An epistemological world appear and disappear into nothing, no ontology. And application. We move now to the application. I indicated that space-time or space and time, as you wish, cannot have an ontological status, because let's take Einstein. Space-time, if space-time has an ontological status, then where is the table placed? In the space-time? No, because there is a contradiction. It is here a space or a table. It's a table, but table is in space-time. It's a contradiction. You cannot have the table and the space-time in the same place at the same moment. So we have to reject the space-time. In my books, you can find it. One is free. I have five. My first 5 books are free on my webpage and other pages. I rewrote Einstein's special and general relativity without space-time, because space-time cannot have an ontology, and I replaced it space-time with motion in 2017. Even Einstein unification of space and time was very strange for me. When he a long time ago unified for special relativity, when he unified space and time, when I learned about this, I discovered that, oh, wait a moment, if I can put together one dimension with other 3 dimensions, it means that I can avoid all these dimensions. Why space has only 3 dimensions? Because we have a 90 degree between them. Why 90 degree? Who introduced this idea that a dimension, there are 3 dimensions in space? And about string theory, I talk later. In fact, I avoided space-time. There has no ontology. Space-time has no ontology. So general relativity, what is curved by the mass of a planet? The mass of a planet acts on nothing, no ontology, which correspond to an electromagnetic field. So a planet curved indirectly, not directly, indirectly, curved an electromagnetic field, not a space-time. So this is a new meaning for general relativity. You can find in my books all this in detail. I replace space-time regarding general relativity. I replace space-time with electromagnetic field. Quantum mechanics. I apply my approach. I discovered the existence of epistemological different worlds working on the mind-body problem. So I discovered that mind is an epistemological world, brain is an entity that belongs to the macro epistemological world. And then working in the same time in physics and in quantum mechanics, I discovered that I can apply my approach to quantum mechanics great problems from quantum mechanics. Nobody discovered the solution. There are many alternatives to great problems in physics, but nobody discovered this solution, because you needed to replace universe world with epistemological different worlds, and nobody discovered this. So I replaced the universe with the epistemological different worlds, and the electromagnetic wave belongs to field electromagnetic, to the field epistemological world. A microparticle which is associated with an electromagnetic wave, a macroparticle belongs to micro epistemological world, and this world does not exist one for the other. So I resolve all the great problems of quantum mechanics. You have here the main authors of quantum mechanics, and entanglement problem was Schrödinger said about entanglement problem, said that greatest mystery of quantum mechanics involves superposition of different quantum states. It's spin particle up and down, wave and particle, and so on. But I resolve entanglement very simple. In 2 words, I can say I have 2 microparticles. I put together these 2 micro electrons. I separate this electron. When I move an electron, the other moves almost instant. When I moved one, the other one moves almost instantly. So it's greater than speed of light. Everybody discuss what is the signal that is sent by one electron to the other. No, there is no signal between these 2 electrons. In fact, these 2 electrons separated correspond to an electromagnetic waves. And when I move an electron, I move the electromagnetic wave. I move in another world. I move the electromagnetic wave. An electromagnetic wave is not composed, is indivisible. So when I move an electron in the other world, I move the electromagnetic wave, and the electromagnetic wave moves instantly, and the other end doesn't matter at what distance is. So this great mystery of quantum mechanics I solved it with epistemological different worlds. Bohr principle of complementarity. Maybe some physicists can tell, no, look, your epistemological different worlds are quite similar with the Bohr principle of complementarity, because for Bohr, he said we cannot observe a wave and particle using the same measurement apparatus at the same time. So they are complementary. Okay, it is quite close to epistemological different worlds, but complementary has no ontology. Bohr worked within the unicorn world universe. So we have to, from Bohr, we have to return to Spinoza, who introduced the dual aspect regarding the mind and the brain. And other person would say, but Bohr dual aspect is almost the epistemological different worlds. No, Bohr and Spinoza worked both within the unicorn world. So I came with a new framework. Even if they are very close to my approach, they are completely different because they works within the unicorn one. Standard model, all matter consists of quarks and leptons, which interact by changing different types of quanta. We have different forces. We have 4 forces, gravity and the other quantum forces. Gravity, everybody tried to explain gravity. Einstein, as I said, Einstein replaced gravity, the force of gravity, with the curved space-time. I replaced curved space-time with curved electromagnetic field, which belongs to an epistemological different world. So it's completely different than Bohr principle of complementarity. Born introduces probability superposition. Schrödinger cat. All these are explained much easier using epistemological different worlds. Schrödinger, for instance, did not accept Born probability. Wiener introduces consciousness role in collapsing wave function. This is a completely wrong idea to introduce consciousness in the same place world with wave function. No, consciousness is a property of the mind, and the mind is an epistemological world than the wave epistemological world, field epistemological world. So it's a completely mixture of epistemological worlds when you say this. Dirac, he introduces quantum field theory. The problem with quantum field theory is that we cannot reduce, many reductionists reduce everything to quantum field, electromagnetic field. No, we cannot reduce everything to electromagnetic field. Otherwise, my body and my mind would be electromagnetic field. And now if we are reductionist, strong reductionist, in this moment, who is talking to you? An electromagnetic field, and it would be quite absurd. No, it's a person with a body and a mind who is talking to you, and not an electromagnetic field. Non-locality, a very important notion in quantum mechanics. As I said before, is the property of the wave, which is continuous. The wave has its rigidity, and when I move an end of the electromagnetic wave, the other end doesn't matter. It's 1,000 of kilometers. The other end of the electromagnetic wave moves almost instantly. So this is the non-locality explained in using epistemic different worlds and not within the unicorn world. Young experiment. It is very famous, this experiment in the 19th century, the beginning of the 19th century. It was constructed by Young, and it was thought within the unicorn world. We fire electrons, double slit apparatus. The screen measure in fact the interference of the waves, and nobody could explain until me what these measurements of a Young of double slit apparatus. For me, it's very simple. There are electrons that we fire toward the apparatus, but at the same time, in the same place, there are waves that we fire toward the double slit experiment apparatus, and the apparatus measure interference of the waves, but there are also electrons in epistemological worlds. And I explain Young experiment very simple. Heisenberg asserted the principle position and momentum. Measuring location of electron depends on the magnitude of its wave. Again, we mix. We have a mixture of epistemological worlds, so it can be explained very simple. I explain non-locality, quantum superposition. In fact, when we talk about quantum superposition, we talk in fact about correspondence between field epistemological world and micro epistemological world. So we have to pay attention. The superposition is not a good concept. It's quite a wrong. Schrödinger introduced waves, Heisenberg particles. We have equivalence and formalism of both theories, Pauli, Schrödinger, and Eckhart, and others. In fact, we have correspondence between wave and particle. All these theories, Pauli, Schrödinger, Born, and all the others, constructed their approaches, and other approaches nowadays, they constructed their approaches within the unicorn world, and Penrose and all the others. Because they worked within the unicorn world, it was very difficult they introduced the concept of the decoherence. Decoherence doesn't happen. When I use an apparatus for particle, but I pretend that I measure something from a wave, and when I use the apparatus, I see a particle. The particle decohere the wave decoheres in a particle. No, it's not a decoherence. When I use an apparatus for a particle, measurement apparatus for a particle, I move from wave epistemological to particle epistemological, and there is no decoherence, because when I return to the other apparatus, I see the wave. So what's happened? Decoherence, it's opposite, it's extended. No, it's in fact I move from one epistemological to the other using different measurement apparatus. There is no decoherence. About complementarity, I said what is this? The complementarity between wave and particle are correspondence and not complementarity, because complementarity has no explanation. It is within the unicorn world. In this way, I explain action at distance, or faster than light, that was not accepted by nobody. It is contradict special theory of relativity. So I explain much better action at distance, faster than light, using epistemological different words. I don't need decoherence. I don't need other very wrong concepts invented by human beings, physicists in the last 100 years to explain this non-locality action at the distance. Everett. Maybe some person can tell you, look, your theory is many words proposed by Everett in 1957, or other concepts, multiverse or parallel worlds. No, it's a huge confusion between many worlds, parallel worlds or multiverse, and my epistemological worlds. because multiverse, parallel worlds, or many worlds of Everett are constructed within the unicorn world. So for them, there are parallel worlds. When I measure a particle, the wave moves in other parallel worlds. These parallel worlds are all within the unicorn world. And multiverse is constructed within the unicorn world. Many universes within the same spatial temporal framework. There are like island. No, for me, it's completely wrong because one epistemological world does not exist for the other. So multiverse, parallel worlds, many worlds, everything are totally different than my approach. And they are constructed within the unicorn world. For me, Everett, many worlds or parallel worlds, multiverse are science fiction because they are constructed within the unicorn world. There are other approaches in the last year. Stroke's different worlds, Ority different ontologies are constructed also within the unicorn world, even if these are after I appeared with epistemological different worlds. Quantum gravity. No grand unification theory or theory of everything. It is a meaningless unification, trying to unify all four forces, gravity and the other electromagnetic strong and weak forces. It's completely wrong because mainly gravity is not a force, is not a curved space-time. It's you cannot unify epistemological different worlds. Theory of everything means unification of epistemological different worlds, and this is totally wrong. Quantum gravity is a wrong notion. It relates epistemological different worlds. We move now to dark matter and dark energy. I have to move faster because I want to finish as soon as possible. Dark matter, I take only dark matter. Imagine a disk that is rotated. When I rotated the disk, it's exactly what's happened with the galaxy, which is rotating. And the analogy is very similar. The question is what forces move much faster the planet at the end of the disk, the galaxy, compared with a planet that is very close to the center of the galaxy. And there has to be a force that moves that planet much faster than speed than the other one. Now, I introduced another epistemological world that is, I call it mega epistemological world. It is greater than macro epistemological world, but it's not a dimension. It's an epistemological world than macro epistemological world, and we have to imagine in that world that the galaxy it's an object. It's like a disk that I throw out in the air, and the disk is rotating. It's exactly the same thing. The galaxy in a mega epistemological world is an object like a disk in a macro epistemological world. So, and in that mega epistemological world, we have these mega entities and mega interactions. So we have also dark energy is explained in that world, in that epistemological world, in other manner than it was explained until now. And I move now to the hyperspace superstring theory. Superstring theory, we know that Kaluza, Klein, and all the other, they move to 5 dimensions. They try to unify all forces, but appear some infinities. Veneziano and Saskin and all the others, Michael Green, first evolution, Green and Schwartz, second revolution, Edward Witten. So they introduced 10 dimensions. Edward Witten in 1995 introduces 11 dimensions, and later appeared 26 dimensions, and so on and so forth. For me, these are just mathematical concepts, theories, and everything is abstract, and everything is quite wrong. Even in the unicorn world is not correct. And when you talk about 11 dimensions, wait a moment, I indicated that space-time cannot exist even for 4 dimensions. So how to talk about space-time with 11 dimensions if even this with that we can see but we don't perceive any space? Do you perceive any space? Where? In this room there is a space? I don't see any space in this room. Do you see a time? Where do you see a time? Time cannot exist, cannot have any ontology. Do you have a time inside of your body? It's completely wrong. When you see a clock, do you see a time? I see some objects there moving, and this is all. But time and space cannot have any ontology. And when we move to superstring theory with 10, 11, 26 dimension, is really science fiction mathematics. So it's total abstract. So we have to reject any kind of string theory, superstring theory or string theory. Supersymmetry, superparticle, supergravity, even black holes are no wrong notions within the unicorn world. And symmetry in general has to be related to non-locality based on correspondence. We can talk about symmetry when we introduce the epistemology different worlds, but symmetry is totally different than this symmetry is totally different than a symmetry constructed within the unicorn world. The conclusion of my presentation, observation measurement always involves theory, Edwin Hubble, but Hubble came following Kant. It's in my theory, it's a Kant extended. My theory with epistemology world is the Kant extended. And Feynman said, the present situation in physics is as if we know chess, but we don't know one or two rules. Yes, in fact, it's not about one or two rules. It's about a framework of thinking. And the framework of thinking was wrong from ancient period until I discovered the epistemology different ones, working on the mind body problem. Changing a framework of thinking is a job of a philosopher, for a philosopher, not for a physicist, to change a framework of thinking like this. And I change the unicorn world, universe with epistemology different worlds, and this is the greatest change in the history of human thinking. I don't know a greatest change in the history. I end with the photo slogan for cognitive science. What's so nice about I replace cognitive science with physics. I rewrite this slogan. What's nice about physics, you can drop out for a couple of centuries and not miss a thing. And this is in physics because everything has been elaborated, constructed within the unicorn world, which is our own concept, and all concepts and theories have been completely wrong. There are different frameworks for epistemology different worlds and different so I want to the last one I want to emphasize that epistemological perspective is completely different than non-reductionism. It doesn't matter what kind of non-reductionism, epistemological, ontological, doesn't matter. All non-reductionist approaches have been constructed within the unicorn world. So we have Spinoza dual aspects. We have N. Mach, William James, Bernard Russell with neutral monism. It's a phenomenological view. Everything constructed within the unicorn world. Niels Bohr with complementarity. Hans Primas and Atman Spasher, conceptual emergence, and there are with dual property, non-reductive phenomenal properties like liquidity. It's a kind of ontological relativity. Everything has been constructed within the unicorn world. So they use pseudo notion like emergence. Doesn't matter what kind, weak, strong, epistemological, ontological. Go to my first book, 2008, and you find details about this. Trying to explain qualitative phenomenal properties. Property dualist against reductionist, but it's a wrong notion constructed within the unicorn world. In 2002, 2020, in these years, I applied my epistemology worlds to physics, cognitive neuroscience, biology, and philosophy. In 2019, I wrote a metaphysics of epistemology worlds with principles and categories. And this is, as I said, I have solved all great problems for physics, cognitive science, and philosophy, except one. I have a problem that I still couldn't find the solution for this problem. A problem from where appear everything. This is the problem. I end with an alchemist getting the epistemology from worlds. Of course, people who publish some unbelievable similar ideas to my ideas, they can compose the Fifth Symphony of Beethoven, even if we will be sure that they haven't heard this symphony. They can compose this symphony very similar, but they would be the Beethoven, next Beethoven composing. And I end my presentation, the last words, with the Arnold Gellen images of time for those who publish unbelievably similar ideas to my ideas. The distance between the pioneers and the much smaller followers become so great that the later cannot reach the former. The age of survey limitation begins. yet not of nature, but of the style of the great masters, xyloscopists remove the labels from the elixir of the magi and put them on their vials. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. I hope that I am in the time that is necessary for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for your nice presentation. I think we have learned, and our students have learned new paradigm of physics by you. So if you allow, we can start our discussion. We have got some question. So as you do not believe in the space time, how do you define gravity then?
Gravity, as I said in my presentation, gravity is a planet curved, space-time, curved nothing, but nothing has no ontology. Curved nothing in its world, because the planet belongs to macro epistemological world. The planet curves nothing, which correspond to electromagnetic field. In fact, indirectly, a planet curves an electromagnetic field. But wait a moment, a planet does not interact with the electromagnetic field, because the electromagnetic field and the planets belong to epistemological different worlds. So in fact, it's a concentration of electromagnetic field which curves the rest of the field. This is not a planet, but in an epistemological different world, the planet corresponds to a concentration of the electromagnetic field, and that concentration curves the other field that surrounds that concentration. So we can say wrongly, the planet curves the electromagnetic field, and this is all. And we don't. When the apple fall down on the earth in the head of the Newton, but this is a story; it's not real. The apple is in fact an amalgam of microparticle, which corresponds with an amalgam of electromagnetic waves, which fall down on the earth because the rest of the electromagnetic field is curved, and it's not the movement of an apple. It's the movement, activation of the field from the tree to the earth. It's activation of the field which change from one place to the other. But this corresponds to the apple in the macro epistemological world. So we have epistemological world, not space-time. Because space-time cannot be here. Here we have electromagnetic wave everywhere in another epistemological world. So we cannot have electromagnetic wave and space-time. It's a ontological contradiction. You cannot put in the same place two objects in the same world. You cannot put in the same place at the same time.
Okay, so thank you. So there is another question. Have you uncovered the mystery of creation?
The mystery of?
Creation.
Oh, creation. This is the only problem that I have no solution for yet. I have been working in the last 1 year and a half. I don't have a solution yet.
Okay.
I have a paper. I have a paper on my webpage and a chapter in my last book. I indicate that God cannot exist. Doesn't matter what kind of God. I rejected all religions. Doesn't matter what kind of religion. I reject all religions because God from all religions cannot exist, because it would be the presence of God in all the epistemological world, but it's a contradiction ontology. So God cannot exist. Somebody told me, oh, you know, the first epistemological world, I called it the hyper nothing, that is a God. Maybe that is God, but a new God. It's completely different than all the others God from the religion. So creation,
Okay, so
I have no idea.
you have also mentioned that you believe in lots of Big Bang. So
No.
Big Bang happen at the same time or in a different time?
No. I believe that there was not a Big Bang. There were many Big Bangs in different places, and big bangs, not Big Bangs. There were appears of entities in the. In fact, it was appeared the first electromagnetic wave field, and that electromagnetic field appears in different places in new epistemological world, which appeared because of the world epistemological world that was before this, and it was maybe that epistemological world still is here. It's a pre-Big Bang epistemological world. Maybe it's here because of some processes happened there, produces in an epistemological world to appear epistemological different entities like electromagnetic wave, and there is a correlation correspondence between pre-Big Bang epistemological world and what appears after Big Bang. And it was not only one Big Bang; it was appeared in many places. And I avoid in this way Alan Guth inflation, which passes the speed of light c. So it's the wrong notion.
Okay, so we have maybe connected to one of the guests, so if I can connect. So Mustafa Kamal, can you hear us?
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, good morning. Yes.
Yeah, good morning. So
Thank
I
you
have
for connecting with us.
so first I
have a-
have a theory and then I have a question.
Okay.
If everything is particles, then
Can't see you. You can on your
yeah.
video.
Unfortunately, I do not have a webcam.
We hear you. So go on.
Go on.
So if everything is particles, then what holds them together in a certain structure?
Okay. I have an answer to this, of course. It is the electromagnetic field from an epistemological different world. Electromagnetic field is concentrated in a place, and the concentration of electromagnetic field produce in another epistemology indirectly produce the unification of microparticles in a microparticle world, and unification of different microparticles is correspond to the unification of electromagnetic field in another epistemological world. But there is no interaction between one and the other. Microparticle does not exist for electromagnetic wave. Electromagnetic wave does not exist for microparticle. But because of this correspondence, there is unification of microparticle, which indirectly correspond to a planet. So we have to relate many epistemological different worlds to explain a process or an entity from an epistemological world. But we relate not with causality. It's not causality here. It's a very important here. And question is very important because if we have a causality between one epistemological and the other, we return to universe, to unicorn world. But there's no causality. There are epistemological different worlds. Effectively, this is yes. I understand, and I work on this question. So,
and if so, maybe we can make a device to rearrange these particles via sound. So if all particles can be moved by sound, then we can play God, right? To rearrange them in a certain manner.
But
for
yes,
example, for example, I have worked on a perpetuum mobile, and I don't think if it works. Let me tell you how it works. So you have a brass instrument, a wind instrument, a brass wind instrument. You blow it, and you have a wall full of metal lamels. So those lamels react to the sound and they vibrate. If you put many of those, but it has to be the best quality metal. It has to be some uncharacteristic metal that vibrates to surpass
the sound.
Yeah, to surpass this ratio of 1:1 to be 1:2 ratio to make a perpetuum mobile and to be able to move, for example, to produce energy, surplus energy. And then if you can, with this kind of device, if you can put this device connected to a computer, and then the computer can rearrange the particles, then you can recreate things. You can recreate the world.
Sure. Look, we have accelerators, and in the accelerator we create experiments with the microparticle, with electromagnetic waves, with the nuclear forces, but we are not God. This is just an instrument who created the interaction and the decomposition of particle and composition of particle. And this is not this is not God. It's just an experiment. And you said about that wave and sounds. The sounds are transmitted by the air. So the air is a molecule of air. What is air? Are molecular airs, and this molecule belong to micro or macro. We have to pay attention to the chemist, and the chemist will tell you the molecules belong to the macro, not to the micro, because to the micro belongs only to microparticles. So we move already to the macro molecules, which interact with the metals that vibrate. So this is there are some, but in the same time, at the same time, when air molecules interact with the metal, in the same time, there are microparticles which interact with other microparticles, and in the same time, there are electromagnetic waves which interact with corresponding electromagnetic waves which correspond to the metal. So that process that you described happens in the macro, in the micro, and in the electromagnetic wave at the same time, the same place. This is what we have to know, and we are not God. God is to create everything. Do you create? Can you create everything? I don't believe it. So
no, because we didn't create it in the first place, but we can recreate, we can reshape.
Sure. This doesn't mean that you are God. It's just a
well, I was hyperbolical.
Sure. I know. I understand you. Of course, it is just a joke for me. Yes, it's just we create different things. We can create different things, and this is related with the whole parts relationship, because there are many discussion in philosophy about the parts and the whole. What is the part and what is the whole? And I have some answer to this in my books that are posted, my first 5 books. So in some cases, the parts and the whole belongs to the same epistemological world. In other cases, the parts and the whole belongs to epistemological different worlds. So we can. This is related with this. You didn't ask about part-whole relation, but I continued your experiment with this. So we have an answer to everything except what created everything. I don't have an answer. So maybe
this was my next question. So if we as humans are existential beings, so we are programmed to seek this question.
Yes, but
so we try to seek this question through different fields of knowledge, and then we reach the final question. And it, for some of us, we accept this uncertainty that whatever, I don't care who the fuck created us, but some of us are like entering in a perpetual existential crisis because we are programmed to reach this question, so our minds cannot conceive this.
Yes, you're right. You are right. The problem is that Aristotle said, in my presentation, I introduced this. Aristotle said, in the past is not an infinite time, cannot be an infinite time, because otherwise this discussion would be in the past. Infinite would entails, comprise everything, even this discussion, infinite time in back. So we cannot accept infinite time or even infinite space. Aristotle said this, and I agree with Aristotle. So we have to replace this with a kind of Big Bang. But what was before? Another epsilon. And what was before that epsilon? Another. But we cannot go to the infinite. We have to stop. Aristotle said this. We have to stop. And I stopped it, and I introduced the first epistemological different world. And the first epistemological different worlds is EW0. The name is hyper nothing. Is not nothing, because nothing can appear from nothing. Another philosopher, old philosopher, said this. It's a hyper nothing. And I still work on this topic because it's a very difficult topic. And you can say that, well, you naturalized God. Your God is a kind of almost like entities in these epistemological different worlds. And I can say, yes, this is a kind of naturalized God. Okay, we can say it's a naturalized God, but it's not God that is present everywhere. And after we die, you go to hell and you go to paradise.
No. I was not talking about the theological God, but the God as the supreme being, like supreme creator. However, the God can be Big Bang or etc.
Yeah, something like this.
So we have so Mustafa Kamal. Could you introduce yourself? So we haven't. Sorry. So then we go another question.
Again, so please.
Could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm a student at the University of Literature.
Okay. Thank you for your. Thank you for joining with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, sir, in near future, is it possible to use dark energy as a source?
Maybe we can use dark energy. Maybe we can use. I have no idea. We need a new mechanism to invent new mechanism. Maybe we can use, but We don't know what is this dark energy. We don't know. We have some. Okay, it's working. Yes. So we don't know. I don't know. Maybe you have to ask somebody working in physics and not even in physics. Somebody who works in technology, and he can tell you. She can tell you, yes, we can create an apparatus in the future. I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea.
So there is another question. Do you want soul soul with matter? That soul is made with matter.
No, this is from where I started and I discovered epistemology from working on the mind-body problem. Where is your mind? Soul, mind is the same thing for me. We don't talk about soul, but this is a topic belong to the church, so I don't talk about the church. But where is your mind? Where is your mind? I work at quite a lot on the mind-body problem, and I discovered the epistemology from because look, I said until now it was. Identity theory in the last 30 years, 30, 40 years, it was identity in cognitive science and philosophy of mind. Mind is identical with the brain. And wait, I said, look, I have a book here and the book is green. Or I look at the tree is green, the tree. Where do you see green in your brain? In your brain, you don't see green. So wait a moment, it seems that has to be a difference between mind and brain only because of this. I see green in the brain, I don't have green. In the brain, I have white, dark, green and red and yellow, no, not yellow, blue from the nerves, but I don't have green. Where is this green that I see on that tree? I know it's the light which is reflected. Oh, I understand, it's the light reflected by the tree, of course, but where is green? With my mind, I see green, so I cannot equalize mind with the brain. But so identical theory is rejected, but it's rejected also emergence. Doesn't matter what kind of emergence, the mind is produced by the brain. Well, wait a moment, the mind is here, somewhere here. If the mind is produced by the brain, this is early 1992. The mind is produced by the brain. Where is the mind? Here or here? But look, I see the green tree in front of me. It's just there because it's the window. Oh, wait a moment, where do you see? If I see now a green tree, there it has to be an image in my mind. Where is that image? Is somewhere here? Do you see an image of a green tree here? I don't believe it. So where is that image? Because I have that image. So it has to be, it's in the brain. But in the brain is nothing like green tree. In the brain, there are just chemical and neural reactions and nothing like a green tree. Oh, yes, but you know, it's no, it's, and I worked on this and I discovered mind-body epistemology was working on the mind-body problem. And then I applied to quantum mechanics and then to the micro-macro and then to do macro-mega for dark matter. So this was my, I believe that working only on physics, like micro, macro, and waves, I wouldn't discover the epistemology flow because working on physics, all the epistemology flows are outside of you, and I wouldn't be able to discover epistemology flows. I discovered just because working one inside is not inside, but it seems to be inside and outside. And I discovered working on the mind-body problem, and then I applied to physics.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have another question. So, do you think that dark energy is the energy within the extra complicated dimension?
Dimension doesn't exist. Dimension doesn't exist. Not extra. Not.
I can add. Can you relate dark energy with black?
Dark energy
with black hole? Can you relate to dark energy with
no black hole? Black hole. In fact, what is? I would ask somebody from physics. What is the ontology of a black hole? What is the ontology? And the physicists would say, I don't work with ontology. But what is made a black hole? From what is made? It's a gravity, an infinite gravity there, which attracts like everything that is surrounded. It's attracted by the infinite gravity. Wait, infinite doesn't exist. So it's a abstract concept. There is something there, sure, because they already discovered. Then they measured something, but it's not like what we think. A dark matter, a black hole is there, like infinite gravity and attracting everything. No, it's not infinite. It has to be, and I believe. This is just a supposition. I believe it's a phenomena in macro epistemological world, which correspond to a phenomena from mega epistemological world, and there is a correspondence there. I don't know what is there. I have no idea.
Okay, thank you, sir. Another question. So how do Do you connect subatomic quantum mechanics to soul? After all, our body, which carries a soul, is made up of subatomic quantum particles.
Wrong statement. Wrong statement, because our body is not made of quantum particle. Our body corresponds to the quantum particle. This is completely different. There is a correspondence, not a composition. It's not made of. I move my hand. Well, wait a moment. Moving my hand contradict completely Heisenberg uncertain relationship. I can move as I want, exactly how I want. Where is the uncertainty principle here? Heisenberg uncertainty principle. I can meet my hands. Where is uncertain principle here? Is nowhere. My body is not composed of microparticle. My body corresponds to microparticle, and body and microparticle belongs to epistemic different worlds. If I cut my hand that I cut it belongs to also to macro epistemological world and my body. If I cut my finger belongs also to macro. If I cut my nail also belongs to macro. But if I cut something very, very, very small, it's impossible for me with the knife. It's a microparticle. In that moment, I move to another epistemological world. But when I cut a finger, I have a finger here. It's in macro. But in the same time, I have an amalgam microparticle, which is in the epistemological world. So you have epistemological worlds at the same time in the same places. So this is completely different than because I cannot say my body is composed of microparticle. Otherwise, I can some microparticle speak with you? Can understand the microparticle? What do you ask? I don't believe a microparticle, an amalgam microparticle can understand what you say. I don't understand. I don't believe a microparticle to understand. Don't try to convince me, because you'll not convince me. So we have to accept epistemological different worlds. And many people plagiarize my idea in the last 10 years. And this is because I changed the framework of physicists, of cognitive neuroscience and philosophers in the last 10 years. I changed the framework. I believe that this will be the next framework of thinking for the next 200 years. Maybe tomorrow somebody will appear as a completely new theory which is correct, and it will replace my theory, maybe tomorrow. But statistically, I believe that my theory will be replaced in 200 years. But it is possible even tomorrow to appear something new. I don't know. So there are so many people working in these domains in nowadays comparing with 50 years ago. So can appear next day something new.
So thank you, sir. We have another question. So can you one day discover any physics of soul?
Of soul? Of soul?
Yeah. Soul.
When you say soul, this is you have to go to church. I don't go to church. The problem is, for me, soul is the same thing with the mind. It's the same thing with the life. For me, I equalized life with the mind. It's the same thing, life and mind. So mind is an epistemological world. Mind, soul is the same thing. Life is the same thing. So it's an epistemological world. Where is my mind here? Where is? No, it's not here. My mind, I applied Kant here. I extended Kant. My mind is not here in surrounding the brain, in the brain, identical with the brain. No, my mind is not. Where is my body? Because my body belongs to the macro. My mind is an epistemological different world than macro. Where is the body? So what is the relation between mind and body? There is no relationship, because one doesn't exist for the other. So how I'm able to speak with you through my body is my mind is speaking to you, but my mind corresponds to the body, and corresponding to the body, when I think and I speak with you in my mind, at the same time, my body transmit you the signals, and the signals that I transmit to you is received by your ears, that belongs to the body. At the same time, is the mind who interpret those processes, neural processes in the brain, and is the mind which correspond to the brain. Not is identical, not is emergence, not no. It's correspond. Doesn't exist for your brain. So this is the same thing in quantum mechanics. The wave doesn't exist for the microparticle. So it's not a dual property. It doesn't exist. There are epistemological different worlds. You cannot say, go to Bohr complementarity, primum, contextual, I don't know how his term. They use emergence, weak, strong, doesn't matter which. They work, all they have been working within the unicorn world. So we have to replace this with epistemological different worlds. And the main rule is one world doesn't exist for any epistemological different world. This is your mind doesn't exist for your body. Your mind doesn't exist for my mind. But we can communicate it because our bodies are in the same world. And there are bodies which change signals, which are interpreted by each mind.
Okay, sir, thank you. So we have another question. So is time traveling possible in distant future?
No. Time traveling, in fact, time doesn't exist. Space doesn't exist. Where is space? Oh, look here, in this room is space. No, in this room is no space. It's the air. But let's suppose we are on the moon. On the moon there is no air. I'm in a room on the moon. What is here on the moon? In the moon, what is here? I tell you, electromagnetic waves. But that electromagnetic wave does exist. Waves and the field, electromagnetic field, that doesn't exist for my hand. I can move my hand on the moon without interacting with the electromagnetic field. But there exists electromagnetic field. Where is the space? Nowhere, because it would appear a contradiction. So when you ask about time travel, time doesn't exist. So this travel, it's meaningless travel. Maybe we'll discover in the future, in I don't know, 100,000 years, I don't know, maybe to move from one epistemology to another, but I don't know how. It's quite impossible. So I don't believe in time travel. And you will ask me, but when you are you were a child and now you are older, in 20 years I will be an old person. This is not time. No, it's not time. It's my life, my body, which is younger and then become older and older. And this is not time. It's just a process, a biological process. And because of this biological process, we believe that, and because of the rotation of the Earth surrounding the Sun, we believe that 1 year. 1 year is just the rotation of the Earth surrounding the Sun, but it's not 1 year. It's just an invention, a human invention. The same is with life. And where do you see time and space? I don't see anywhere space. Ontologically, because if you say that space exists, it has to be an ontology. What ontology? No, imagine I go to the other room. I move to the space, but space exists. Yes, space exists. Then it has an ontology. Yes. Then I interact with the space all the time. Yes, you interact with it. Wait a moment. If I interact with the space all the time, it means that it's a problem there. It's a problem. What kind of interaction? Space moved through the body, or like water surrounding the body? What would be your answer? It would be difficult to answer because space doesn't exist. In water, I swim in the water, and water doesn't enter in my body. It's surrounding my body. Okay. When I move in the space moved surrounding the body or enter in my body? It's quite a difficult question, and you cannot answer because space doesn't exist. So.
Okay, so this may be the last question. So a few years ago, photon has been teleported about some kilometers. So what's your statement about the human teleportation?
Teleportation, I have no idea about teleportation. My personal idea, this is teleportation. I don't believe in teleportation. Not now, not even in the future. Maybe 100,000 years will be a kind of teleportation. Maybe by that I believe. It's a science fiction teleportation for me. It's really a science fiction. It's like after that, your soul or your mind will go to the paradise or to the hell, and you receive from the God or from the hell what is there now. It's I don't believe in life after that. So teleportation is very science fiction term for me. It's very science fiction term. So I have never worked on teleportation. It's very science fiction. So it's.
Okay. Thank you very much for your nice presentation and for your nice discussion session. So actually, our department want to thank you as you have accepted our invitation, though you are busy with your research work. And I think our students have learned new things and new things of physics through philosophy. And hopefully we'll arrange another webinar with you in the future if you have time. So thanks again. And we'd like to say thanks again on the behalf of the Department of Physics, Pabna University of Science and Technology, sir.
Thank you very much, and don't forget. Yes, thank you very much, and don't forget. I have 5 books. My first 5 books, English whole, are on my website, free for everybody. So
okay, great. So there is a request also. So please send the copy of your metaphysics of EDIS to me. Some of viewers actually want, and some of my colleagues also want.
It is quite, yes, it is quite close to what is written in the first 5 books. So metaphysics is a kind of a philosophical term and notion. There is nothing completely new. It's just different, yes, a construction. But the first 5 books contain all the details about physics and quantum cognitive neuroscience and quantum mechanics and mind-body problem and everything. So, and you have some free articles there. And mainly, if you don't believe in my books that are published here in Romania, go to University of New South Wales, Sydney, Australia. My PhD thesis there is posted free by the university in 2007. And in that PhD, you find all these ideas that I tell you, almost all, not about the dark matter, but I have the main ideas there. So thank you very much again for your kind invitation, because you are from physics. This is very important for me. Thank you very much.
Thanks you also for accepting our invitation. And for viewers, tomorrow we are going to celebrate our Golden Jubilee celebration of our International Physics webinar. So though it will be in Bangla, but I'd like to invite you. Please try to join. It will be a special webinar. So thanks for helping me throughout this 49th, and hopefully you will help me in future also. So thanks again. Bye for today, and see you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.